Okay guys, so today I'm going to review the Huawei P9 Lite, or what I would like to call it, the best sub 300 phone. And in this review I want to show you how much of a P9 you get with the P9 Lite for about $200 less. So really quick overview, and I will try to make it in one sentence every time. Design and build quality really nice, especially for the price, which makes it even better. The display, awesome calibration, fully satisfying, high quality. Yes, I really like that. The sound, very loud and still nicely balanced. Absolutely satisfying. Headphone jack quality is nothing really out of the ordinary, in line with most of the other phones these days, but definitely nothing special, but totally gets the job done. Performance, I would say really close to a flagship level, and I would put this on the level of a Snapdragon 810 easily. I don't really see any difference at all. Battery life, very good, very solid. Can hold up with the very best ones these days. Software, still EMUI, get used to it or don't. But I think, for example, I'm using an Android N theme, which I will show later in the software part, and I really enjoyed it, and it felt actually more like stock than ever before. So good as well. And the camera surprisingly didn't suck, but actually was quite surprisingly good. Something I did not expect. So I would say let's start off with the design and build quality. Design and build quality, yes, I repeated that. Size comparison here with the Samsung Galaxy S7. As you can see, it's noticeably taller, and it is a little bit wider, yes, and it is actually a little bit thinner. But considering this device costs like maybe half of it, that's fine, because yes, it is a little bit bigger than the P9 was, about 2 millimeters wider, 2 millimeters taller, and half a millimeter thicker. But you also pay like 280 instead of 500, so this is fine with me. The other difference is the backing, because this is plastic, not metal as it was on the P9, but it has an actually advantage, because I found it way less slippery and actually quite grippy with this little texture here, and it feels still not definitely cheap. It doesn't feel as premium as the P9 did, but absolutely fine. And the great thing that I loved so much about the P9, we have beveled edges that look nice, but you don't really feel them, so it feels really smooth. We don't have the curved glass anymore on the top, but we have a slight little edge, but it's a very soft and round one, so all good here. On the bottom we still have the fingerprint reader that works quite nice. It's not on the P9 level, but usually if I pick it up, put my finger here, take it out of the pocket, it's always on, and this is good enough for me. We have the camera here, the flash, headphone jack on the top instead of the bottom as we had on the P9. Here we have the microphone, SD card and SIM card tray. Nothing else here. We have two speaker cutouts. This is, I guess, for the microphone, because there is no speaker in here, just here, and micro USB. And once again, known from Huawei, the perfectly placed buttons. Nice tactile feedback, nice slight subtle click. Same goes for the volume rocker. I absolutely love it. This is non-improvable in my opinion. This is exactly what I want it to be. We also have a notification light. It's quite faint, but at least it's there. That's already good enough. Bells are still absolutely moderate, I would say. So in overall, I absolutely like this design. For a device that costs $300, it feels a lot more expensive. Sure, it could have been a metal backing. It made it feel even more so premium, but I don't think it's necessary, and I like it actually because it gives me a little bit more grip. Still feels very solid, very premium, because we have a metal frame. Top, absolutely fine. Okay, so let's check the display. 5.2 inches IPS 1080p. Sharpness is absolutely fine as long as you don't plan on too much of VR or something like that. Absolutely nice in terms of sharpness. The white, I really like it, and we still have the color temperature control. Should satisfy every need. The black is a little bit of a thing that I want to show off, because as you can see here, if you look at it like this, it's okay, but as long as you don't look at the diagonals, there you will see the quite noticeable IPS glow, and it is a little bit more obvious than on some other phones. So this is the only slight weakness. The rest though, colors really nicely balanced, really natural, really accurate, and I really like the whole appearance. It's also very bright, because I only used it with 35% of brightness, which is absolutely great. So like I said, only the IPS glow, but the color calibration seems a little bit less vibrant, a little bit less saturated than on the P9, but really marginal, and I would actually say this is a little bit more natural, definitely toned down, and I absolutely like that. So the display, as well as already the build quality, absolutely on a top-notch level, way better than it should actually be for this price. Top. Okay, let's check the sound. Okay, I think it's obvious. The speaker can be blocked, which for a right-handed user is no problem. If you are maybe a left-handed user, then you could definitely block it. But since I use it with the right hand, it was no problem at all. Also not for games, quite good. But you notice it during the demo, cupping the speaker will definitely improve the maximum volume a lot. But the good thing here is actually the speaker is so loud that you don't even have to, because it's one of the loudest ones. I would say actually one of the loudest, along with the P9 bottom facing speakers, and it's, I would actually even say, on the same level. It could be maybe even the actual exact same as on the P9. Very loud and still very nicely balanced. Clear highs, a little bit of bass, nice mids, totally fine. Where it isn't quite that good would be the headphone jack, because that one it just is on level with the most other phones in this price level. It's loud enough for an earphone for sure. With headphones it could be a little bit harder. There is an option if you use the inbuilt music player SWS that makes everything a little bit louder and boosts and optimizes the sound, which could give you enough volume. But if that's so good for the actual quality of the sound, I wouldn't say so, but it gets the job done. Now let's talk about the performance, and this is something that I already said in the overview that I'm absolutely pleased with, because it is really, really nice and smooth. As you can see here, of course it's still loading. Okay, now very, very buttery smooth scrolling. I never really had any issues, and this is pretty much not distinguishable from the P9 itself. Overall, of course, it is a little bit less smooth, but I can't really say it stutters or so. It feels really, really nice. If you make a fast flick, then it can. But usually if you scroll like this, what is your normal speed, it is absolutely nice. App also load quite fast. This is, of course, now caching all the articles. Give it a second, and as you can see here, also absolutely fine. Smooth, absolutely fast, responsive to the touch. The screen itself is also responsive, and all my side bezel gestures worked absolutely fine. So as you can see, even Google Plus works absolutely top. So I can't really say anything else. Multitasking was also fine with 3 GB of RAM. This is fully satisfying. If you talk about the gaming performance, absolutely fine. And I would still also say here, it definitely beats every Snapdragon 808 device and is on a level of a Snapdragon 810. All the games that I tried ran absolutely smooth, absolutely without any problems. And when it comes to the heat, let's talk about my stress test. I did a stress test, 45 minutes of gaming, and it heated up to a maximum of 44 degrees, which was still fine. And it didn't really seem like it would throttle, maybe a little bit, but I didn't really think it was, so I'm actually fine with that. And for the other test, 50 minutes of 1080p recording, it ended with 43 degrees Celsius, which is absolutely fine in my book. So stress test passed, absolutely fine here. Now let's talk about the battery, and the first thing would actually be the disadvantage, the charging time. No matter which charger I tried, I ended with 3 hours and 30 minutes for a full charge, which is kind of like slow charge 2.0, because even 2 or 3 year old devices charge faster than this one. So that's the downside. But the good thing is the battery life itself is very, very solid. I could get easily 4 hours on data only. In mixed use, 4.5 to actually closer to 5 hours. And using it on Wi-Fi only, you can easily break 6 hours without any problems. I used 35% of brightness, which though is good enough because it's a quite bright panel at the start already. So all good here. Let's talk about the software, and the first thing that I just want to show off, I'm using an Android N theme. So you can see this looks a lot more than stock. It doesn't look quite exact like stock because we don't have the transparency and everything is not quite there. There are maybe some themes that actually look a little bit closer to original stock, but it definitely looks way less colorful and way less in your face, a little bit toned down compared to what we usually see on EMUI. So of course these I don't think look really original like these icons, but I'm definitely absolutely pleased with that. It looks nicer than ever before, and if you use a different icon pack, maybe you can get even closer. And the rest is absolutely fine. I don't really want to get too much into all the features because you can still check my EMUI 4.1 review that I did, or 4.0 that I did for the Mate 8. Still pretty much the same. Of course, you lose features like dual window, knuckle gestures and all that the P9 had. You won't really get here, but all the basics were here. I didn't really miss anything. I could customize my quick settings, and the recent tasks worked fine. So it's bare minimum actually in terms of features, which is quite nice because you don't want to be overwhelmed. Good here for me as well. Now let's talk about the camera, which I thought would suck because usually the mid-range Huawei phones don't really have that great of a camera, but the selfie game was really strong, quite sharp, of course not super sharp like on the, for example, HTC 10, but absolutely pleasing, natural colors, nice exposure, good skin tones, absolutely pleasing. Low light capabilities were still fine. It was maybe super bright, it didn't pick up too much light, and it could become sometimes not super sharp, but it wasn't really too grainy, so I was actually quite happy, especially for a mid-range camera. But outside, I was actually very surprised that the quality was so good, because at first I saw the pictures on my monitor and I thought, this looks so sharp, the colors look so natural, so much details have been picked up, and I thought, this doesn't even look any worse than it did on the P9. And then I needed a side-by-side comparison to actually see that colors seemed a little bit more accurate, a little bit more natural on the P9 itself. And there was a little bit more sharpness, but it was actually so close that you would consider a phone that costs $200 less to produce that good pictures. Now, the video quality was actually way better than expected, because it wasn't really that overblown sharpness that they usually use that still also looks quite blurry. It was actually quite good. Transition was okay from bright to dark. There is still no autofocus, even though we have a pro option in the camera option that allows you for continuous autofocus, so it should be there, but I didn't get it to work. Even though I had it turned on, it didn't focus without me tapping, so you will have to live with tap to focus for the video. But the video quality itself was actually quite good, so in the end I have to say the camera way better than expected. So let's get to the conclusion. This, in my opinion, without any doubt, is the phone under $300 to buy. If you don't maybe consider phones like the Chinese brands that are quite cheap and offer a lot of value, because I can only consider the big brands here because I just never used a Chinese phone. But from all the phones in around this price range, this is the best I've ever used, and it's so close to the P9 that I don't even think it's necessary to upgrade. Of course, the P9 is in pretty much everything a little bit better, besides the battery, which is better on this version here, so you don't really need it. If you don't need the highest flagship phone, the P9 Lite does everything you want. Performance was pretty much on a day-to-day use on a flagship level. I didn't really notice any difference, and the experience using this phone over the course of 1 week was absolutely on a flagship level. Beautiful display, nice haptics, nice comfortable feel in the hand, loudspeaker, top performance, great battery life, and a still good enough camera. So I don't see even too much of a reason to upgrade to the bigger one if you don't need the very best one. But I'm highly impressed, and the only two competitors I see here at this price point at the moment would be the question that many have: should I get a recent flagship or mid-ranger or a last year's flagship? Like for example the Nexus 5X or the LG G4 would be the two ones to call out here. And if you don't need the better camera, which you will get on the other two phones, I think this is overall the better phone. The 808 gets definitely demolished by the Kirin 650. I think it overall performs so much lighter, smoother. You also have 3 GB of RAM. Performs absolutely top. I'm fully pleased. And I got so many times asked after my P9 Lite hands-on video which phone to buy, this or the Nexus 5X or the G4 or the A5 2016. Around $300. At the moment, this is the one and only phone that I will recommend, unless you need a better camera, because the G4 and Nexus 5X do provide that, but in pretty much everything else they lose out. This feels better, has a nicer display, maybe not compared to the G4, which has a really nice display as well. Battery life is better here. The overall experience, and that is the most important part, is just better, because I had almost no difference to a flagship experience for below $300, 280 euro at the moment here. My fullest recommendation without any doubts. That was it. That was my review of the Huawei P9 Lite. If you have any questions or something to say, leave them down in the comments. And I hope you enjoyed this review, because I enjoyed this review along with this really nice phone. So they did a great job. They actually maybe shot them a little bit themselves in the foot, because you really have to think hard if you still want the P9, if you ever use this one, because you save a lot of money and you don't really lose out. I would almost say like you have 90% of the P9 experience for 60% of the price. Okay, so that would have been it. I wish you a nice day, and if you like this video, thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more reviews like that, and nice day. Bye.